Hello everyone, I am Laethas and welcome back again for another video. Today I have my manga haul for December of 2019, my last manga haul of the decade, and I have some good series to unhaul, or not unhaul, but to haul in the video. I already hauled them and I'm putting... Anyway, we are going to get right into this haul. Let me know all of your thoughts about this decade down there in the comments below, whether they be, whatever's going on or manga. But here is my last haul of the decade. First up, we have Kaguya-sama, Love is War, Volume 11. Now, I've been wishy-washy on this series, been reading volume to volume, and while I do enjoy this series to an extent, I don't feel the need to continue picking it up. I've kind of lost interest in this one, and this volume was kind of really what did it for me, but it is an okay romantic comedy series. The characters are fun and quirky. There is an anime of this series that was made, but this is Kaguya-sama, Love is War, Volume 11, and probably the last volume for me. Up next, I have Ran and the Grey World, Volume 5. Only 2 more volumes until this series is complete. I've read the first volume of this series, so I can't really say much beyond that point, but from what I've read, it was fun, it was whimsical. There are a few elements that are a little bit kind of weird, mostly because our main character is a young girl, but when she puts on these shoes, her body matures, but she's still a little girl, and she's constantly talking with this, Playboy-esque character guy, and so that can be a little weird, but for the most part, I enjoyed the first volume, and I cannot wait for the rest of the series. Only 2 more volumes, and I must say, Aki Irie's art is quite something. It is very, very good. Yeah, as you saw right there. Hopefully I didn't spoil anything with that. People who've read this series will yell at me in the comments if I did, but yeah. Ran in the Grey World, Volume 5, very whimsical in that sense, similar to the Ancient Magus Bride, but definitely not the same as that series. But that is Volume 5, and only 2 more to go. Next up, I have the 7th volume of the Fullmetal Alchemist Full Metal Editions. This series needs no introduction. It is one of the most widely known manga series out there. Also definitely helped in part by the success and popularity of its 2 anime adaptations. I don't really need to say much more about this. I've watched the Brotherhood anime, and I'm just going to wait for all the manga volumes to come out before I get into the manga series itself. I hear Brotherhood's very faithful to the source material, but yeah, Volume 7 of these nice full metal editions. There's going to be 18 of them, so almost halfway there. Not too far off from that, but as I said, this series, no introduction needed, very popular, very well known, and one of the most beloved series out there. But that is the 7th volume of the Full Metal editions for Fullmetal Alchemist. Next up, I have the 2nd volume of Kaiju Girl Caramelise, which is a super, super fun romantic comedy series about this girl who, whenever her emotions run wild, she turns into a giant kaiju monster, very similar to something like Godzilla. Now, this is a series by Spica Aoki, and if you've read any of her other works, that will be instantly recognizable from the artwork. It's a very recognizable art style. It's hard to not recognize it. Lots of sparkles, basically. They're kind of everywhere, but if you're into romantic comedy series, highly recommend checking this one out. It is very, very funny, especially all the situations that we find our main character getting herself into, especially with her condition of turning into a giant monster, and the fact that when the symptoms start to show up, she'll start growing tails, her skin will harden, and all these funny things that she kind of has to deal with, try and keep hidden, because when she falls in love, or she's next to the person that she's in love with, her symptoms start to appear, and it's just about her trying to understand how to kind of deal with this condition and her loves, and it is very, very funny. Definitely recommend checking this series out. Next up, I have the 12th volume of Murcielago, and this is just a high-octane, super action-heavy series. I've not read this series for a while. I've been backlogging several volumes, so it's been a long time since I've read it, so I can't really say much about this 12th volume. It's still in its plastic wrap, so I can't really open it up and show some of the artwork. But it's a super action-heavy series. If you're looking for action, you're not going to be disappointed with this series. It's very crazy, very fun, very high energy. It's also quite graphic, lots of blood, bones, that kind of thing, so be aware of that if you're thinking about maybe getting into this. If you're not a fan of those kinds of things, know that going in. But as for me, of the volumes I've read, I've really liked this series. Characters are super crazy and weird, and for a series that's like this, that's absolutely perfect. Yeah, that's Murcielago of Volume 12. Next up, I have a single volume series by Ryoko Kui, and that is 7 Little Sons of the Dragon, a collection of 7 stories. And it is exactly what it says. It is just a collection of stories by Ryoko Kui, and it's what it says. It's an anthology of 7 different stories, varying in how good each one is. I prefer some to others, but on the whole, I did enjoy what I read. With anthology series, you're always going to have some stories that are worse than others and some stories that are better than others. That's just kind of how it works. But if you're looking for kind of a anthology of a bunch of different stories and you're looking for something short, then I would definitely recommend checking this out. None of the stories are super long, but there are some good ones, really good ones in here. I did enjoy reading this one. It's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly, what this is aside from just a collection of stories. But yeah, if you're looking for something short, little variety in there, I'd recommend picking this one up. But it is 7 Little Sons of the Dragon. Next up, I have volume 13 of To Love Ru Darkness. This is obviously the sequel to Love Ru. There are 18 volumes in total, so only 5 remain to be put out in English. I've yet to get into Darkness because I have yet to finish the original. I've liked what I've read of the original, so I don't imagine I will dislike Darkness. I imagine it will be more of the same harem, comedy, shenanigans. Yeah, that's what this series is kind of known for. It's harem comedy. I don't know what else to say. I haven't read Darkness, so don't really know what to talk about when it comes to this series. But this is the 13th volume of 18, so this is almost completely out. I think it will be complete in English by the end of 2020. If not, then early 2021. But yeah. Volume 13 of To Love Ru Darkness. Next up, I have the 4th and final volume of Shimaname Tasogare, or Our Dreams at Dusk, by Yuki Kamatani. And what else can I say about this series that others have not said? Very good series about identity and discovering who you are. I've not read more than the first volume because I've been waiting for this volume to come out to kind of read the rest. But from what I've read, excellent series. That seems to be a consensus among a lot of people, but highly recommend checking this series out, and I can't wait to get into it now that this 4th volume is out, and might I add, it is quite a large volume at that, 1.5 volumes, probably maybe even 2 volumes in length. It is quite large, but yep, the 4th and final volume of this excellent series. Can't wait to continue reading. Next up, I have the Dirty Pair Omnibus, put out by 7 Seas Entertainment. Now, I have yet to actually get into this series yet, so I can't really say much about it, but I think this is kind of more of like a modern reimagining of the original Dirty Pair. Again, can't really say much about this one because I haven't read it, but I imagine if you like the original, you'll probably like this as well. And it is complete in this omnibus format for $19 US. And yeah, don't really know what else to say about it. It's based on the Dirty Pair characters. That's about as much as I know about this imagining. But yeah, the complete omnibus. Can't wait to read it, and we'll see what I think of it. Maybe do a little bit of like a review or impressions if it turns out to be particularly great. But yeah, that is the Dirty Pair omnibus. Next up, I have the 9th and final omnibus for To Love Ru. Cannot wait to finish this series. Fun harem romantic comedy series, and now that it's complete, I can continue reading from where I left off. Really enjoy what I have read so far. Romantic comedy, quirky characters, weird, interesting abilities, since it's all about these like space aliens and whatever, what else is there. But yeah, fun romantic comedy series that I'm enjoying, and cannot wait to continue reading it. Don't know what else to say. It's a romantic comedy series, a well-known one at that, and it also has several anime adaptations made of this series. And yeah, fun romantic comedy series. Don't want to open it up since it is the final omnibus. Want to avoid some spoilers, at least from the final volume. But yep, that is the 9th and final omnibus for the original To Love Ru. Next up, I have the first volume of Marginal Operations, put out by J Novel Club. Now, this volume was very wordy. It is an adaptation of, I believe, a light novel, and it is about this guy that kind of joins a mercenary, but we're definitely not mercenaries type company. And he's just kind of there doing the things that they're telling him to do. And that's how this first volume starts off. It has some intrigue for me. I will probably pick up 1 or 2 more volumes just to kind of see where it goes from there. Very much a military-esque series. You see a lot of sort of military figures, and you kind of definitely know what's going on. You know where these people are, and that kind of thing. As for what kind of a series this is, I want to say it's more of a drama series. There's not a whole lot of comedy in this series. There are bits and pieces, but that's not really the focus. It's mostly on this guy and what he's doing there, that kind of thing, because he lost his job and he's like, well, I might as well sign up with these people. They're going to pay me some money to go and do some things. So he signs up with them. They contract him, and he's flown off to where they fly him off to. But yeah. Marginal Operation Volume 1. Interested to see where this one goes. I'll give it 1 to 2 more volumes, kind of to gauge my interest in it. But it is rather interesting and not like most series that I've read so far. But that is Marginal Operations Volume 1. Next up, I have the second and final omnibus to H.P. Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness, adapted by Go Tanabe. Now, this is an excellent work. I haven't read the original At the Mountains of Madness by Lovecraft himself, but as for the adaptation by Go Tanabe, I really liked this series. Not very long. I imagine it holds very similar to the source material, but can't confirm that since I've never actually read the original work that this is based on. But if you're looking for a horror series, this is an excellent one to go with. Not super long, but it has just enough in it to be very worthwhile. And it's only these 2 omnibus volumes that are quite nice. For those who haven't seen Tanabe's artwork, it is quite nice, as you can see right there. It definitely brings out the detail, especially those facial features. Ooh, bumping things. But yeah, if you're looking for a horror series, absolute excellent one to check out. Would highly recommend this adaptation by Go Tanabe. Next up, I have the first omnibus for Gambling Apocalypse Kaiji by Nobuyuki Fukumoto. Now, this has been a long time in the works by Denpa Books. I don't know how many omnibuses they're going to have, but as for the build quality of these omnibuses, they are quite nice, and they also have these sort of French flaps on them. So to get a quick look at his art style. Definitely very unique to him, especially those nose designs. They're very, very sharp. A lot of his work is generally pretty sharp, but the noses definitely stick out to me. But have yet to get into this, picked it up fairly recently. I know a lot of people have been really wanting this series, and now that it's finally out, a lot of people are really excited. I don't know, as I said before, I don't know how many volumes there's going to be, and can't really say much about the series itself since I've yet to actually get into it, but from what I've heard, it is a thriller type of series involving our main character kind of getting roped in with some unsavory characters, kind of making his life not that great. And he's kind of having to gamble his way out of misery and suffering, or at least that is what I have heard. But that is the first omnibus for Kaiji, or Gambling Apocalypse Kaiji. Can't wait to get into this one. Next up, I have a Yuri series, If I Could Reach You, Volume 2 by TMNR, and it's a Yuri series. If you're a Yuri fan, absolutely check this out. It is definitely an interesting romance. Maybe cringe for some people, but I've been really enjoying it. Basically, it is about this young girl who ends up falling in love with her older brother's wife, which leads to some complications, especially since she is living with them. So, right off the bat, you can definitely tell, you know, the kind of stuff that this series is going to entail, but I absolutely love this one. If you're a fan of Citrus, highly recommend checking this one out. It has kind of a similar dynamic. They're not entirely. It's similar, but not similar in the sense that it's the same. It has a little bit of the same sort of crossover appeal, but these are definitely very different series, or at least from my reading of them. But yeah, love If I Could Reach You. Can't wait to read more. I don't know how many volumes it's going to be. I believe there's 5 or 6 out in Japan, and this is just the second one we've gotten in English. But yeah, really love this series. Can't wait for more to be out. Next up, we have a volume of a series that everyone seems to love. Just finished its anime adaptation, and that is the 11th omnibus for Vinland Saga. Now, I think this series is very good, but every single time that I haul one of these series, I generally think that other people are into it more than I am. I think it's a very good series, but certainly not the best series ever written, in my opinion, but don't let me dissuade you from buying it. It is still an excellent series, especially with some recently introduced characters. If you've not read Vinland Saga, it is about Thorfinn, who is a Viking, and sort of his journey through being a Viking and sort of growing up and kind of recognizing who he is and his, like, purpose in life. Unfortunately, however, this is an omnibus release. They are nice hardcover volumes, so they are pretty nice volumes. That's not the problem. The problem is the volumes release very, very slowly, because in order for us to get one volume, 2 volumes have to release in Japan, and I believe this is run in a monthly magazine, so it takes an eternity because we are caught up. So volumes do not come out very frequently, or certainly not as frequently as people would like, but that's what happens when you catch up to a series. It just, you gotta wait, and that's how it works. But yeah, it is the 11th volume, the 11th hardcover omnibus for Vinland Saga. One of the more prominent series that people seem to rant and rave about, but really enjoy this series. I've been told it's in its final arc. Don't know that for certain. Maybe I misheard someone, they were talking about another series, but that is the 11th omnibus for Vinland Saga. And last up for this haul, we have the 6th volume of the Sailor Moon Eternal editions. There's only 4 more to go before all of the Eternal editions are out. They are very large, as I'm sure you can tell. They are very expensive as well. So unless you want to have these editions or you're a huge Sailor Moon fan, you're probably better off buying the original singles because they are much cheaper than these volumes. I think they're like $20, $28 a piece for one of these. So very, very pricey, or at least retail priced, that is. But yeah, I've been reading these volume to volume. Very important work, especially because of, you know, all the stuff that came after it and sort of all the things that it has inspired. So a very important work. I've been enjoying reading it. It's not one of my favorite series out there, but I definitely enjoy what it is that I'm reading, and I kind of want to see it through to the end. But this is the 6th Eternal Edition for Sailor Moon. Very well-known series, very important series, definitely deserving of a nicer sort of deluxe edition release. And we are almost complete with it here in English, only needing 4 more of these nice large releases to go. But yeah, that is Sailor Moon Eternal Edition Volume 6. And that will do it for my manga haul for the month of December 2019, the last haul of the decade. As always, let me know all of your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. Let me know everything. I really love reading those comments, especially since this is for the last haul of the decade. What series did you get at the end of the year? And your general thoughts and opinions. All of that, I would love to hear them down in the comments section down below. As always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and share. And if you'd like to keep up to date with all of my content, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that notifications bell, or follow me on Twitter. There's a link to that in the description down below. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, issues, anything like that, leave those in the comment section down below. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this manga haul for the month of December 2019, the last haul of the year, and the last haul of the decade. I am Laethas. Goodbye.